Of that. So yeah, once we open the Eclipse, so we get this welcome screen, right? So here what we can do is just we'll go to the main screen wherein we get this particular windows now. Here, what are this? This is basically the project explorer, wherein whatever projects we create would be shown here, and then the main screen, what we say is whatever code we write, that would be visible over here. And here in the bottom screen, yeah. So there are different screens. Once we start, you would come to know what is the all are for. So what we have to do here is to create. So what are we doing? Just the starting initially with the Java thing, right? So what we do is we'll create a Java program. So just right click, just click on this file explorer, like option file, and then new. And then here from this particular options, you can select what type of project you want to create. So it's a normal project, and we also get a Java project if we already have created multiple Java project in this particular workspace. As you see, I'm not getting in that option Java project over here. Reason being, in this particular workspace, I don't have, I haven't created any Java project. So that's why what we'll do is go to new project, and then from this search for Java or Java project. So when you search here in the under this thing, under this Java folder, you would get this Java project. So click on it and say next. Next thing is it gives us a screen wherein we have to enter the project name. So what project name do you want to give for your Java? So better to give follow a proper naming conventions wherein that would help us for a long run, I would say. So whenever we just want to refer to any of the projects or any of the uh, code, whatever code we write later, so just for a reference purpose as well, it would be easier if we write a proper naming conventions. So for project name, what do we write? We can write any name like starting with small or capital, but the general practice that it says is need to give a start with a capital letter. So I would say this is, I'll give some Java name called Java training, and then so I would use this default location. Yeah, if you have any other location preference, then you can select it from this particular screen, and then GRE. So as we know, for Java related code we need Java libraries, right? So that we can select it from here. So basically by default, whatever Java we have installed and whatever home directory, like in environment variables, we already set the path for that, right? So for those things you would get these options, or you can use any specific thing if you want, but I would just use the default one, whatever it was showing. So you can just leave as it is, and I don't want to create this model info as well. So yeah, just 1 second. Yeah, so just give the Java name, project name, and then you can just go next, 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 or just finish it. So once you finish it, so it takes some time to build it, and then just click on that open perspective. So once you do that, you would get this particular screen wherein a project is created with that name, whatever we have given, and a J symbol is there, which means this particular project is a Java project. So it could be identified as that way. And under this, we have Java related libraries, JRE, as you see. So whatever Java we have downloaded in our local, in our system, so all the Java related packages, Java related code, everything would be there. Here inside this, there would be many packages. So whatever code they have written, so that would be present. So we just want this library for now. And then we would have one source folder. So here, actually, so in our project, so basically when we create our first project, then by default a Java project would give us one source folder. So it's not limited to just one source folder. If we have a requirement, or if you want some other source folder as well, so we can create multiple source folders if required. But just to start with, yeah, I'm fine with having one source folder. So basically any code that we write, it would be in a source folder. So we have a source folder already, and inside source folder, then what we can do is the project structure is what, once the project name is created, we have a source folder. Inside source folder, there would be n number of packages. So we can create just n number of packages. It's not limited to just one or two. So we can create whatever packages we want. And yeah, for a package name, again, as I said, naming convention. So this package name should start with your small letter, I would say. And whatever name you give, if you say package for package, it gives some error kind of thing. It says invalid package name, package is not a Java. So few keywords, whatever Java has already used in their code, that particular thing we cannot use it again, because then in that case it would be difficult for even for a person or for a Java to identify which particular thing are you referring to, the package that you want to create, the custom one, or the one that is already there. So it would be ambiguous, right? So for that purpose, it's better to give a different name which was not used. So here package is what now, instead of this I would say just package one. So again, package depends on what particular code we write in that particular package is what we need to give name accordingly. But for now I'm just giving this name as package one, and then just click on finish. Once you create it, so you get this particular package. And now again, same thing, just like packages, n number of packages we can have in source folder, n number of classes also we can have in our package. So how to create class? Right click on that particular package, click on new, and then select a class from here. So from here, give again the class name, naming conventions for class. Again, it starts with the capital letter. I would say, what name should I give? So Java first, or I'll say for now class one. So here I would use just a class one, and then I would also import a main method over here, because by default it gives up. So what later versions of Java, whatever we get, or later versions of this Eclipse as well, we are getting, right? So they are making our lives easy. Earlier, it's like we didn't had an option to import or use some extra things, right? So this with this particular thing, what we have to do is just a normal class we should have created, and then whenever we wanted to create a main method, we should have to write it manually, saying okay, write public static void main, then only we used to get it. But now, as I said, people make life easy. So here we have this particular main method we can select if we want, and then just say finish. Once whatever name you have given, so it creates that particular class in that package, and then you would get this basic template wherein a class would have package name under which package this class is, and then the class name, whatever the class we have given, so it would be the same name. So, and once the file is created, the program file that we want to write, basically that would end with .java as an extension. With this particular extension only, it would identify that this is a Java related program. So whenever we execute this particular file, then it identifies this is Java, and we need whatever code, whatever things you write inside this would be the internally it would be related to Java library again. So here you would have a main method. So public static void main, since we have selected. If we had not selected it, it would have been just normal plain class. So that way we have this thing, and then so we have main method. And what's next? So why main method? What if main method is not there? What happens to that thing? So inside class, what else now we can do? So we can create variables, we can create methods. So basically code would be there inside that. But and other programming related stuff like the other syntaxes and exactly using of those particular code, it would be basically without this main method or a normal method, you won't be able to write your general code under this class itself. So for that purpose, we just have to at least have a main method, and main method here would be a basically starting point for our Java to refer. So whenever we execute it from anywhere, what it does is which class are you running, it says, and under this particular class, it would, if you have written thousands of lines, again out of those thousands of lines, it doesn't go one by one in a sequence order. So what this particular Java would look for is it would search for a method called main with this particular arguments string args, and when it finds this, so then it starts the actual execution from here. So under this method, whatever you have written, it tries to execute. Before this, let's say if you have written something or the other, so a proper code also if you have written, it doesn't Java doesn't take in a way like it should execute that in particular order and then only it goes to the next one. So that's why, as I said, so Java would, a main method would be a starting point for our Java. So we'll just start with the uh, basic Java code. So let's say if you just want to print anything on the console, so you would, when I execute, you would get a console here. So let's say I want to print something. So for that, what would be the code or the syntax? So just to print, we can write system dot out dot println, print or println. So wait, let me write and then I'll explain you what this is. So println, and then it would accept a string as a parameter, and inside this string, whatever you want to give. So let's say my first class, and then just save this. So to save, you have option, click here or save all the files, or just say Control S, anything. So once you save it, the class would turn it this way. But earlier it was like a star over here, right? So that turns out. So that's an indication saying whatever you have written, file was not saved. So you can save it. Then once we write this code, so what this code first of all mean is, So under system, we are trying to refer, like we just want some output out, and then print on the screen thing. Whatever we give, we can print on what is this ln. We can even say print as well. There's no issue. And this print ln is nothing but we are just trying to print something in the next line. So it refers to the next line. Yeah. So with this particular code, now how to execute this. So whenever you have a class, what you can do is just right click on that class, and from this option you would get run as option. So select that and click on Java application, or if not this way, make sure this class is selected over here, and then you would have other options as well from this menu. So you have different things here. So you can just directly click on this green button to execute. Once we click on this execute, in the console, in the bottom screen, you would get whatever you have printed or whatever you are asking. So same thing in this particular text, whatever I have given, it was printed. And whenever you update something over here, the same thing would be executed, printed, shown on the screen. So is it clear till this point? So does anyone have any doubts, or someone wants to ask anything? So I guess silence is, yeah, okay.
It's clear.
Yeah, clear. Okay. So what we have done is we have just printed, right? Now next thing, what else we can do? So in the same class, again, what we can do is we can create variables, we can create methods, different methods in our class, as I said. So for now, what variable is and why do we want to create a variable? So let's say I have printed here my first class, right? And then again, if I just want to print it 2 times, what I can do, I can just copy paste this thing and same thing 2 times. So if it is more than that time, so print how many times you want, and then you can execute, right? So how many times you have set to print, it would print that many times. Now let's say whatever I've printed, a message or the thing. So let's say I just don't want to print this. So my first class, instead of this one, I just want to say my first class, some extra text is here, something like that. So at one point I've done that change again, like 4 times we are repeating, right? So same thing, we just have to again repeat it, copy paste it in different thing, right? So this way we have to do, and then 4 times that particular thing would be printed. So I've just changed it in the 2 times, and so 2 times it shows this updated text, but the other two, yeah, whatever we have said. So if it's 2 or 4, yeah, we can copy paste it. But let's say if it is hundreds, thousands, and the same thing, if you want to do it, so that's not how we generally do it. For this, what we can do is to make these things better, we can create one variable called a variable name would be uh, what name should I give? So just say variable one is my variable name. So this one, and then what value it holds. So I just want this to have earlier how it was. I'll say it was just my first class, right? So it was this text. Now this text, I'll just copy, and then here in, since I want to give this as a string value, I would say double quotes and then give that value to a variable and end this with particular thing as semicolon. So Java statements, this would end with semicolon every time. So that's it. So we have created one, we have given one variable name. Syntax would be what? So and just to comment, just to say one extra thing. So to comment anything like some extra text, let's say if we want to write, so Java doesn't know what this particular thing is. So it gives an error saying what it is. I don't know. It doesn't understand. So for that purpose, but what are we trying to do? Let's say we just want to write some statement over there. So for that, what we do is we use comments over here. So how to comment? For that, what we'll do is say double forward slashes, and then you can write any statement here, statement here, whatever you want. So in this case, as I said, so the syntax I just want to write. So what would be syntax for the variable? Uh, for the variable, it should be variable name, variable name equals to the value. Depends what value it is. If it's a number, just directly number you can give. If it's a string, again it should be under double quotes. So when you say that, if it's a number or if it's a string, then you know it, you would give the same name, but Java doesn't know what type of this variable is. Again, for this particular thing, we have to define the type as well beforehand. So type initially we need to write. So here the syntax would be type. What type of variable do you want to declare? And then variable name and its value equal to that value, and with semicolon. This would be the basic syntax for that. So same way, let's say we are doing this. So what is this? So we have created one variable and a value is assigned this thing. So to this, as it's throwing an error, it doesn't understand what type of this variable is. So for a variable, we need to declare a type, as I said. So the type here would be what? So since this is a string, so type for that would be again just normal text. So Java consider it as string. For that, what we have to do is write S as capital and string, and then give a space. So we have declared a type and then the variable name and its value. And now that red color error has gone, which means now Java understands, okay, this particular statement is nothing but user is trying to create a variable with this value. So internally it stores those things again. So the type of that is string. So what else we can create? We can also create numbers, right? So we can give any name. Number is nothing but, so number equals to, so let's say I want to give 15 as value, and this 15 again, for this particular thing, what do we need to declare again? The type of this particular number would be what? It would be again integer type, right? So here we will just declare int as this thing. So same way, float, decimals we have. So all those types you can explore it, and yeah, anyone has any doubts, they can reach out to me. So these are the variable creation. And let's say again going forward, since it's just your beginning, so you might not be able to know when you create a variable. So you know we need to give a variable name, and for now just declare a variable called, and that variable name again it should start with small case. That's a general practice, general syntaxes, and again the method names as well, whatever we give, it starts with a small case. And now what's next? So here I'll say, so if we create a variable, let's say I've create a variable called a, and it has what value? I would say 12 and decimal point or something I'm giving 12.01. So I want this particular value to be stored in variable, but I don't know what type I had to declare it, and Java is throwing an error. So in such situation, such scenario, what we have to do is just mouse over on this particular variable wherever you are getting error. So it gives some suggestions. That's what this ID, the ID would come handy. So as I said, we can write this codes in normal notepad as well. And in notepad, if you write it, so if you create a equals to this thing, it doesn't give us any suggestions or anything, right? Because it doesn't understand what this is. It would consider normal text or something. So but then normal, again, as I said, we can write the code over here and then save this thing, save as, and then file name, whatever you give should match with the class name, and then save it with extension called .java. Then only Java would consider it for execution. and then it would execute as per the syntax. So here, if you write some syntax errors or mistake, you won't be able to know it until you execute and then see it on the console. So that way, the IDs would be handy here. And now, so we have created a variable. Again, as I said, we don't know the type. So Java would give us some suggestions saying, okay, do you want to remove or do you want to create some parameter, field, or local variable? So what local variable is, first of all? So whatever this variables we are creating and whatever code we are writing, so this basically this variables, first of all, this variables, the limit, the reach of this particular variables would be till end of this method. So whenever it was declared, after that you can use that variable, and then the scope for that particular variable would be just till that particular method only. It doesn't so let's say we have some other code, and here if we just want to say what a is, again Java doesn't understand a, because a you have written in this particular method, and the limitation for this particular thing would be under till this method only. So this thing, now here let's say I have so this is nothing but a local variable, I would say again. And what the global variable or other variable would be, so we can again declare variables here, as I said. So you have declared string variable this thing or int number, right? So here I can say int number 2 is equals to some value 40. So this way also I can do. And now this particular variable is nothing but this is a global variable, this is a class variable, and wherein wherever we call this particular class, that's other concept. I just don't want to go too deep for now. So consider this as a global variable for now, which means it can be accessed throughout the class again, and this particular variables would be accessed only in this particular method. So that's why this would be called as a local variable. These variables are nothing but a local variable. This is class variable again. So here, as Java was giving a suggestion, so create local variable. So if you just click on it, it would give, okay, this type of, so we don't know what type it would be. So Java would understand based on the value that we have given. So it thinks, okay, this is double, so it gives a double value. So likewise, there would be some other types. So you can give, let's say, I just don't want this, and here I'm giving a character, right? Some A as a character or B as a character. So B as character I've given. So this particular variable would hold this value. Again, the type I'm not sure. If I'm not sure, just mouse over on this, we get char. So the type of this is char. The same way you can do it for all this. Now, I hope things are clear with variable. So anyone has any doubts, feel free to ask. Or you can post in chat. I can, whenever I see it, I'll just reply it. Or someone wants to unmute and then ask the doubts, yeah, feel free to. So after the variable I have created, what's next? Variables are clear. The purpose of variable creation was, so we know I've created one variable, and here, as I said, we were doing these things, right? So now what happens if you create these variables and then you execute? So it executes line by line again, and then in the output, if you see, it is just printing what we asked to print. So what about other things, other stuffs also we have written, some comments, something, right? But it's not shown here, which means this whole thing Java would do internally, and it doesn't show until you ask. It doesn't show. So let's say we just want to ask what this variable one is. So for that, what we can do, this same variable here, instead of this double quotes, I can again print variable one value. So whenever you are calling a variable, what this Java would do is it would give us the value of that particular variable. So here in this particular print, if we execute, you would see, okay, there's no difference. That's why I'm asking. I would say updated something value. So this variable, when I execute, if you see this 19th line, when it is executed, what it's doing, it's printing, it's holding that value, variable value, right? So that value, whatever value it has, that is being printed here. Same way, as I said, if you want multiple times again, so same variable, we can print it wherever we want. So variable we can call again n number of times wherever we want, in whichever line, whichever code, depends how you have declared a variable. So that you would learn going forward. So for now, I've just called these variables and I've executed. So yeah, whatever we have asked, it has printed. Now again, what else? As I said, so if we have some text, and the purpose of this variable, as I said, like we have this particular string, and I said, like going forward, it's been changed. Let's assume. So it's been changed to something else, and now I just have to do change it in one place, but it would display in multiple places wherever we have called this particular thing. So reusing the same code, or else we can say reusing the same variable here for now. So this way, if we create variables, we can just call, and directly whatever you do in your variable value, so those things would be displayed. So this is about the variables. And when you see a variable is being used, the complete line or the statement, it doesn't have any errors or anything, any warnings. But whereas if you see to the other variables that we have declared, it shows some warning sign, warning signal saying the value of the local variable a is not used. So since this variable is not used, that's why it's giving us a warning. So we can go ahead with warning. There's no issue with the warning. Only thing is, if there's a red color error, then only if we execute it, then it won't, let's say if we have not declared, and if we are trying to execute, then Java would give us some compilation error and these things. And even in console, if we execute, unsolved compilation problem. So this particular code is what Java is unable to do it, because it doesn't understand what this particular statement is. Because inside Java classes, they have declared saying, okay, whenever you write a variable, you create a variable, it should have type for sure. Since in this we haven't given a type, that's why it's giving us syntax error. So that's why we need to write the codes properly. And again, if it is not used, it gives us warning message. So with this thing, we can come to know whatever variable we have declared, it's not being used. So let's say if we just want to use it, uh, or I want to print again. And for the system.out.println shortcut would be sysout. If you type and then press Control Alt, it would give you the suggestions as well. So here it would give us system.out.println, and then we want to print the number, right? So use that just to make sure that warning is going off. So for that, what we can do is we'll just give this save. As soon as you save, you see the warning message has gone. So this particular method, there are no warnings, no errors, everything code looks fine, and it's executed whatever we have said. Now say whatever we are printing here, when let's say you don't have access to this code and just you are seeing the output. So with this particular output, are you able to understand what this particular thing mean? No, right? So for that, just for more user readability purpose, for a better understanding what this 15 is, if you want to say, what we can do is, before printing this 15 as a number, before that, we just want to write some user related proper defining user method, right? So user information that we want to declare. So here what we do is just say double quotes and then give a plus, concatenating a normal string with a variable. So when you give this particular thing, uh, Java would understand this particular statement is whatever you give in the double quotes, it would be printed as it is, and then plus it doesn't please print number over here. It prints, it would identify this is a variable, and then variable what value it holds, that thing would be printed. So here if I've given this thing, let's say I just don't want to give anything, I want to give a proper meaning saying this is a number, and then say equal to is something, whatever you want, or number equals to something. So give that particular statement, and then that variable you call it. Once you save it, execute, when you see that particular statement, okay, even if you don't have access to the code or you're not seeing the code, you can understand what this 15 is. This is nothing but a number. Same way, whatever you are doing, try to give a proper naming convention so you can understand the code. If not now, the day one, day two, initially, whatever you write, you would understand or you might know. But what if, let's say, you are just revisiting these codes after a year or so when you are executing? So you won't be able to understand what this 15 was. So that's why anything, any, be it a project name or a class name or package name, give proper naming conventions so that you can understand it, or someone else instead of you wants to understand, even they can do it. So this is about variables. And then what else? So whatever class we have created in this thing. What if we can also create a class not with a package? So normally on the source folder itself, you can just right click on new, and then select class. And this is uh, my other class, something other class, I would say, and use this main method, finish. Okay, since this we have already created. So basically, since we have created a package, that's why it's going under this by default, or while selection only, I guess.
Hello,
Yeah,
Pradeep. Sorry for
yeah,
interruption.
yeah. Tell me.
So, in the last program, you said that for removing warning, we need to call that variable, right?
Removing
Like
warning.
number.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number warning. For
Right.
that warning removing, you call that variable. This is a number. You
Yeah.
print that number. So
Just
we
number.
need to do the same thing for any warnings. Like we are having
No,
in our last
no.
character also we have warning.
Right.
Can you
For
clarify that
character
again?
as well. Yeah. So we gave a as a variable, and then it was holding a value b, right?
Okay.
And again, the type of this variable is create local variable, so it creates a tab. So if you see now, this thing was there, let's say. So here, out of all this code, it gives warning to one particular thing, and then here at this particular line of code, it gives us warning, right? Here, if you see, this particular variable is not used, that's why we are getting a warning. So to remove this warning, it's not like you need to print and then the warning goes.
Okay.
So for what we mean is, with this message, if you can see, the value of local variable is not used. So
Not
whenever you
used.
create a variable, until it
Okay.
is used, it gives us
Okay.
warning.
Okay. Fine.
Only thing is,
Okay.
so inside, let's say, so instead of this number, I would print a as a variable. This is just a, and now a would be what? A doesn't have any warning because it's been used, right? You see here, A doesn't have
Yeah.
warning because it's been used. But whereas for number, since it's not used, that's why here we
Yeah.
have, it is giving us warning. So how to
So the thing
overcome
is,
this?
if we define any variables, we need to use that in any way. After that, it
Right.
gives a
So
warning.
why it gives us, if you don't want to use it, what's the purpose
Use.
of
Yeah.
creating,
What is the purpose of?
is what Java
Okay.
says. Yeah, that's why it
Yeah.
gives a warning.
Okay. Sure. Thank you.
Clear? Yeah. So as I said, to a source folder, again, you can create a class, and by default, it is going to some package. Let's say if we have not created any package, so where does it goes? It goes to the default. We can create a class to something I've created, let's say, and finish. So if you see, by default, Java would create a default package, and then a class would be created. And to this, there's no package thing, right? As you see here, which means by default, it is in the default package. So if you are creating classes in your source folder, it goes to the default package. Recommended thing is better to create a proper package and use those instead of going things in the default one, because if you create all of your classes in default package, later if you just want to know where that particular class is or which particular thing that particular class is, so if you write it in all that classes in one particular package only, it would be not easier for you to refer, I would say. So if you write this, okay, you might give a name saying, okay, package 1, I would create 10 classes. So package 2, I would create 11 to 20 classes. So going forward, let's say if you want to refer where, if you're referring to a class called class 15, so you know by default, okay, class 15 is what? It falls under range 11 to 20. And I defined earlier as well saying 11 to 20 classes would be in the package 2. So you can go to your Java code and then navigate to the package 2, and there you would find that class. So for finding purpose as well, it would be easy. So that's why it's better to create packages and then do the stuff. So I just don't want this, or let it be. So yeah, there's no purpose of creating this one for now. So this was about variable. And uh, so coming to this again, number is not used, right? Let's say if you, instead of this basic thing, you want to print some, do some programming kind of, let's say adding of two numbers, subtracting, or should I say, yeah, for now I'll just give adding. So you have declared variable 15. So instead of number, I would say give a number called variable called number 1, and then uh, again you can say int number 2 equals to 20. So you can create multiple way, how many, like there's no limit, as I said, to create variables, right? So based on our requirement, for now we have just created two variables, and it's giving warning because it's been not used. And you can create it this way, or the other way is also like, after creation of one variable, and if you think the other variable is also going to be a number, then you can give us a comma over here, and then declare the other variable name equals to value. Even this is allowed, because this now number 2 holding a value as 20 has a type int. That's why Java is not giving an error, because we have not ended a statement, previous statement. If we have ended it here, and then again, which means Java is assuming this is one line, and after that wherever you write, it doesn't understand. So it takes as the next line only, and in next line it is thinking, okay, number 2 is already being used. Okay. I just don't want this thing for now. And then yeah. So you are getting error right here, because Java doesn't understand what type of this variable is. For that, what you have to do is you have to write the type here. So again, if you want third, you can do it this way. But then instead of giving types multiple for many elements, and if you think, okay, variables can have this thing, you can just give a, instead of ending a statement, you can write a comma over here and then give this thing. So this is number 1, number 2 we have declared. Keep it this way, or I would take it in a different way. So I would declare it in this way for better understanding. So this is number 1, number 2 I've created. And as I said, my next task or next thing is I want to add two numbers. So how do you add it? So addition of two numbers would be number 1 plus number 2, right? So that I would call it here. Let's say number 1 plus number 2 is my output, and I'm ending this statement with semicolon. So it doesn't understand what this thing is, but we know this thing, we are adding two numbers. An addition of two numbers, let's say we are, if we just want to print this thing for now, I'll just move it from here and then print it here. And again, just for proper messaging, like understanding purpose, I'll say addition of two numbers is equals to this number 1. So I just want this number 1 plus number 2. I'm just segregating, differentiating this plus with this plus. That's why I'm saying I've given a bracket, and then inside this bracket I'm saying add these two numbers and then give the output over here. And when you execute it, you get addition of two numbers, 15 plus 20, right? Addition of two numbers. Again here, what else? So should I also, okay. Addition of two numbers when you have given with this again, for more enhancement or refactoring this particular code, what we can do is we can say in the output addition of 15 and 20 is 35. So whatever numbers we are giving, 35 is what we don't know. Just seeing this code, addition of two numbers 35, we are not even able to validate it whether it is correct or not, right? For that purpose, what we can do is instead of saying addition of two numbers, we can say addition of uh, number one. So number one and number two. So when I print this, it would just print as it is. As I said, whatever you give in double quotes, it would do it. But we don't want this. We want the values of this, right? So how to get the values? Instead of this being in a double quote, it should be outside the double quote. So how to make it outside? So this thing, it ends here, let's say. And then after that, we want this to be started. Same way for number two as well. End it here, start it here. And then so again you are getting error because variables, whenever you are declaring, you are writing, you need to concatenate it. So after the end of string, just add a plus. And even before starting of a string, if you want to declare a variable, just add a plus. So when there is a string and you want to declare a variable, so end of string, write a plus. Before start of string, write a plus. And then save. So you see that error has been gone. Now when you execute this particular line of code, what you would get is addition of 15 and 20 is 30. Let's say I've changed it to 90, and now I'm not seeing the code and executing. So here in the output, you would come to know, okay, addition of 90 and 20. We know, okay, 90 and 20 would equal to 110. But earlier, as I said, the message again, we were not able to validate it if we want. So this kind of better understanding of the code, good to debug is debug as well. Like later, if you have thousands of lines of code and if you want to debug it, so if we give proper messages with that with things, we can easily debug the code. So this is about addition of numbers now. And what we have done is we have just added over here. Let's say the other way that with which we can do is, I just don't want to use it here. And I've not printed anything here, let's say. And this whole statement is not there, let's say. You would get a warning here, right? And as I said, we would have number one plus number two is addition of two numbers. And this addition of two numbers, since it's giving, Java doesn't understand what this is. So we know adding of two numbers would give us what type of data. It would be again a integer, right? And this, we if we want to store it in some variable, let's say I'm storing in output as a variable. So output would have a value, this addition of these two numbers. So when you come to this particular line of code here, again the type, uh, since this is numbers, so adding of two numbers would be the type as well, it would be number. So type for output would be again int. If you don't know, you just mouse over, create a local variable, it would give that suggestion as well. And so we have got output. Now you see, earlier we were getting warnings to this, right? But as soon as I have written number one plus number two, I've used that variable, the warning has been gone for this thing. So now if you see to output, we are getting this warning because this output is not being used. Again, in next line, let's say I want to use that output, use that variable somewhere. So addition of number one plus number two is, we know it's going to be the output. That output holds the variable. So you can just say copy paste this or variable and save it. So we don't even, I just don't want to declare that one. Yeah. So now you see all the warnings, number one, number two is being used here. That's why it has the warnings were gone. And for output we have used, that's why even for the output the warning has gone. And the other thing is you can declare the variables this way, or initial, what we are doing is we are declaring the variable in this line and initializing the value. Or what you can do is initially, first thing, when you declare a variable, you can directly declare a variable which is, you know, the type of that variable going to be number, so it's int. And then next line you can give the value as well, 70. So this method, this way also you can do. It's not like you just need to do it in one line. Depends completely on our requirement. So this way also you can do it. So this is about the variables and this thing, right? So output addition we have done. So about the other things, what are this public, static, void, main, or I would tell about these things when I create other method. So tomorrow I'm going to, or first of all, anyone has any doubt? Anyone wants to ask anything? If you don't have any doubts, then I'll just continue with the other thing. Okay. So what we have done here, we have just created variable, we have used it, right? And we have done some addition program. So same way, subtraction if you want to do, just give minus over here. Multiplication if you want to do it that way. Or addition, you do it in one line. Subtraction, you do it in other line. And then here, if I show, so addition you have done here. And next, again for this number one and number two, I want to do subtraction. Let's say it should be again in the variable. And let's say even for this variable, we have given a variable name as output. And so everything looks fine and we execute it. So at this particular line of code, what are we expecting? Output addition. What it's saying, addition of 70 and 20. Is it really 50, you think? No, right? What it's doing, it's subtracting. But we have written addition already, and why is it subtracting here? Because that line we have given and we have used the same variable, that's why it's overwriting the previous value. So that's the reason here you are asking for an addition, but it's giving you the subtraction, the most recent one or the updated value only it gives us. And the updated value here is subtraction, right? So that's why it's giving here. Or again, for this, if you say declare another variable again, so Java would give this error saying it's duplicate local variable, which means this variable is already been declared and you cannot again declare. You can use if you want, but you cannot declare. You can use it this way, or if you want to declare, then if you want to declare, you have to give a unique name. That's why. So I would say here output one. And now if you want subtraction, next line you can say instead of addition, it's subtraction of two numbers is instead of output. So if you say output, it would give addition only. We want subtraction. That's why give the same correct variable which has that value and end it here. So execute it. Then next first line, addition of two, this thing is 90, subtraction is 50. Same way other things you can do. And what else? So you see this code as well, it's not in a proper alignment, right? So indentation is not clear. So the shortcut for this is just select all and then control A, control I. If you do, it would all the code it arranges in a proper way. So sometimes something is not clear or this thing, so you can use this indentation thing. So outputs I've created. Basically, I thought of explaining the methods as well, but yeah, let's continue that tomorrow. And yeah, I guess this is it. So yeah, anyone has any doubts, something they want to ask, if something is not clear or anything else they want to ask, feel free to unmute and ask, or in the chat if you can post your questions. If we want some output in 100 lines, what we should do? So can you unmute and tell me? Same output in 100 lines. Okay, same output in 100 lines. So 100, basically we won't be doing it this way, but I've just done it for a purpose. So in the next classes, I would say even we shouldn't be repeating our code. And so output you want it to 100 times, what you can do, so let's say I'm doing 100 and this output you want it 100 times, right? So this thing, for now what it is like 100 times, you just need to paste it, but don't do it this way. I'm going to tell how and what to do. So for that, basically we would be using loops, and then I will tell you. Yeah, for now 100 times, let's say if you want 100 times, you just print it, you would get 100 times the output. Anything else? So I hope if there is nothing, we are good to. Okay, Murli, wait. Yeah, okay.
If numbers we can define that as int. If another we want to define some decimals or
Okay,
characters,
right.
something
So
like this.
other number decimal you want to declare, right? Let's say.
Hmm.
So addition of, yeah, those two things, let's say. So 20.0 is what another, the type for this is double, right? So when you create a variable, now number one and number two you are trying to add. So when you do addition, so Java doesn't understand. So different type of variables. We know 70 plus 20.7 would be 90.7, but the Java, when it does, it doesn't understand what these things would be. So here what it does, instead of int, since we know the output of this would be in decimal again, so the type for that would be double. But earlier we just gave int, and then we were using two variables which are of different types. So which is, one is int, another is double. That's why it's throwing error. Java doesn't understand. But for that purpose, so this output, the variable, whatever it is, the type of that wouldn't be int. The output, we know it is double. So that's why we need to give it as double type. And then that you can print it over here.
Okay.
Clear?
Yeah.
I hope I, yeah. Okay. Any such doubts or anything anyone wants to ask? Well, then, if there is nothing, I would take the silence as no. And yeah, we are good to close for today's session then. Yeah, thanks everyone.
Thank you, Pradeep.
Yeah, thank you. Just want to end.